because I am a little lagging myself, a little tired. So kind of grateful
Okay.
we're kind of.
All right.
Oh, the recording has started. But before we start, hey, by the way, hey, Mike, thanks for being there. CP, thanks for being there. Sheldon as well. We are going to start with a intro video.
Okay.
This is here we go. Mark is set. Go.
Hello everyone, I'm your host Harold Milam, and welcome to another edition of O.C.S.T, Oklahoma Cryptid Search Team.
Your life is your life. Don't let it be clubbed into dank submission. You can't beat death, but you can beat death in life. And the more often you learn to do it, the more light there will be. There are ways out. There is a light somewhere. If you're going to try, go all the way. Otherwise, don't even start. If you're going to try, go all the way. This could mean losing girlfriends, wives, relatives, jobs, and maybe your mind. Go all the way. It could mean not eating for 3 or 4 days. It could mean freezing on a park bench. It could mean jail. It could mean derision, mockery, isolation. Isolation is the gift. All the others are a test of your endurance, of how much you really want to do it. And you'll do it, despite rejection and the worst odds. And it will be better than anything else you can imagine. If you're going to try, go all the way. There is no other feeling like that. You will be alone with the gods, and the nights will flame with fire. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All the way. All the way. You will ride life straight to perfect laughter. It's the only good fight there is.
We live in a reality that is interconnected by the physical and non-physical, essentially the spiritual. The non-physical would be everything that operates on the quantum level, like particles and waveforms, or that which is unexplainable by materialist science. The illusion of reality is that there is no spiritual aspect or force governing our experience here. Within this illusion, we find all our experiences to be real, and they are. However, what real is has been redefined over time.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Jody, thank you for being with us. Once again, Mike, MT Paranormal Life, CP, Sheldon, my right-hand man, and of course, the man of the hour,
Hey, everybody.
none only than Harold Milam.
How's everybody
Otherwise known
doing?
as Bud. How's it going doing, Bud?
All right. How you been doing?
I'm tired as hell. But I'm glad we got that sorted out. That must have been a little frustrating, huh? To start out that.
A little bit.
But, you know, we got it sorted out, so
Yeah.
no big deal. Yes, Oklahoma Cryptid Search Team. Are you the captain of the team?
Now, right now, it's mainly just me. I have a few people behind the scenes, but it's mainly just me.
So, hey, man, I appreciate you. We got a chance to talk Thursday. We had a good conversation, I thought.
Yeah.
It was very late. So, considering how late it was, we had a really good conversation.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I asked you maybe a couple months ago if you thought the idea of coming on my show, and you finally responded to me. You finally got the message, huh? It found it's lost and buried in YouTube, huh? And you reached back out to me, and we said, "Yeah, let's do it. What the heck?"
Yeah, I had my comments got blocked for a while.
They got blocked for a while.
Yeah.
That's what happened. Did you get banned or something? You blocked?
I had somebody that violated the terms.
Huh.
And I didn't catch it in time.
Oh, well, there you go. So, so you live in Oklahoma, and I think it'd be good to start out a little bit and tell people who don't know who you are a little bit about yourself. And then when we were having this conversation on Thursday, you mentioned that you actually what got you going on all this was that you had I guess an encounter with a Bigfoot and a Dogman.
And a Dogman at the same time.
So, after we get to know a little bit about you, then we'll go into that a little bit, and then we'll go from there. How's that?
Yeah.
I know you said that if it's okay if Bakey can join us in the show, then certainly anybody can.
Anybody can jump in.
So, but after Harold or Bud, which would you prefer to be called, Harold or Bud?
Oh,
It doesn't matter.
all my close friends know me as Bud, but
Am I worthy of that?
yeah,
Okay, I'm calling you Bud then. So Bud, afterwards, you get done sharing who you are and your encounter, then I'll invite people in. Anybody wants to join us in this conversation, it's going to be open to conversation, and we're going to talk a little about what's going on. AMT Paranormal. If you're Mike, if you're into it, come in and give us an update of what you experienced as well last night. It was quite a show you guys presented. So, with that, take it away, my friend.
all right. My name is Harold Milam. I go by Bud. I started getting into the Bigfoot thing probably around 2012 when I had my own personal experience here in Lawton, Oklahoma, 6 blocks from downtown Lawton, Oklahoma, in my little brother's backyard on Halloween night, mind you, full moon, and I was leaning up against a 4 foot tall picket fence, or not picket fence, I say a chain link fence, and looking up at the moon, and I smelled this awful smell. It was like a skunk and a dead wet dog mixed together. And
Oh, wait, before we even get into there, man, let's tell us a little more about Harold before that. I mean, tell us a little more about Oklahoma, a little bit of your background, if you don't mind. What you're all up, um, unless you just want to go right into it. But I was kind of hoping we'd learn more about you before we get
well,
into
it
the
kind of
story.
leads in. It kind of leads into my background.
Okay, we'll let you do it. We'll let you your way then. Okay,
Well, this
I'm game. I'm game with.
this encounter, um, I I had seen things throughout my life. Uh, didn't really make sense of it growing up. I mean, because I saw a lot of weird things. Been through a lot of weird situations out in the woods with family going camping, hiking, you name it, in different states. And
Really? So you had a lot of weird encounters growing up or experiences. That's interesting.
yeah, but
What do you mean by that?
never it never really dawned on me what things were. If I saw a shadow here or there, if I saw something ducking behind a tree or whatever, I thought, okay, that's wild animals. Because especially like when I was in California, Southern California, San Diego area, and the mountains, you see a lot of stuff out there. So you expect you're going to see a mountain lion or a bear or whatever. But um, growing up, my my family liked to go fishing all the time. We'd go to the lake, and it's just an everyday thing. You saw something, it wasn't really out of the ordinary. It was there. you know. So um, as I got
Honestly, say I
older,
don't, but if you say so. I mean, I spent a lot of time outdoors as a kid, definitely, and I spent a lot of time, as far as work goes in designing trails. But no, as a kid, I have to be honest with you, I don't know. That's why I'm intrigued by what you're saying because I didn't see a lot of weird things. I mean, I saw a lot of. I mean, I've seen weird things from people doing weird things, but never.
well, I'd have to say in my case, I saw a lot of weird things. I don't know about my brothers and sisters really. I mean, nobody really ever said, except when we got a little bit older, when we started seeing
Well,
stuff
this
in
is
the
really
paranormal.
important, Harold. It's really interesting so you were seeing weird things as a child. What kind
Yeah.
of weird things did you see?
Well, I had a bad personal experience when I was 6 years old that had to do with the paranormal. I was bothered by demons.
Oh,
I
okay.
I was possessed. I then had help from my grandparents to get me out of that. But the things that I had seen up to the point where I got the help, um, things that I went through, kind of opened my eyes to seeing the abnormal and paranormal. Um, and I got to where I started not only seeing things, but hearing things that other people didn't see or hear. And, I got kind of ridiculed for it. No big deal. I'm a kid. I see things. That's what I thought. But
Well, we're gonna have to go back to this one because if you want to, you can carry on with your story. But we're definitely gonna have to go back on that one because that's intriguing. That would be rightly so if anybody's hearing this. So go ahead. Thank you.
yeah, well, as I got older, it went through phases of me seeing things, hearing things. Well, I didn't really share a whole lot with anybody because people think, oh, he's crazy because he sees and hears things. He might be schizophrenic. But I'm as normal can be. I mean, I've never been diagnosed, so I guess I'm pretty normal. But anyways, growing up, seeing these things, experiencing these things, and as I became an adult and I moved here to Oklahoma, I started seeing and hearing things more out in the woods. Because I spent a lot of time out in the woods when I first moved to Oklahoma. I was living in the wildlife refuge, the Wichita Mountain Wildlife Refuge, for 4 months. We were homeless trying to find a house, and you see and hear a lot of things out in those woods.
5 months homeless out in the woods. Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. Lived in a tent, lived in a van.
How old were you at this time when this was going on?
Probably about 29.
So you're a young man.
2001.
You're a young man, so it's not something that you're not like you're a kid at this point. So you're a young man. Okay.
No, I'm middle aged. I'm 29 going on 30. Well, being out there every single day and just seeing and hearing these things, like when it would come nightfall and go up to the showers, take the showers and you sit. Like me, I would go up there by myself after my parents got done, and I would be in there doing my thing, and taking my shower and getting dressed, and I started hearing things calling my name.
Really?
The wind would start blowing, and I would hear voices calling my name, calling me by Bud and calling me by Harold, both. That wasn't the first time I heard voices. I heard voices going to other campgrounds, like going in Arkansas. You have these Civil War cemeteries, and camping out there at night, you start hearing things, and you like, okay.
No, this is very important, Harold, what you're sharing, by the way. It's especially if you look at what I'm doing in my research, let's say the MT Mike's from his research, and the high level of paranormal activity you have going on in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
So you've a bit of data, information, a point that leading that way. So interesting.
Yeah. Well, I have dealt with a lot of paranormal. Like I said, going to these campgrounds, like KOA campgrounds next to Civil War cemeteries in Arkansas, you hear things. You hear the soldiers, you hear the gunfire, you hear people screaming, and then you hear what everybody around there says. Oh, that's the banshee.
Banshee. Huh?
Yeah, me and my little brother heard this thing screaming one night, and we're like, what the heck is that? And come to find out, there's this stories about the banshee screaming at night, trying to draw you into the woods. Because you start hearing your name after you hear the scream, and me and my brother are sitting there looking at each other like, what the heck is going on?
Interesting.
Things like that. Just
You act so nonchalant about this. I mean, this is not like something that the average person goes through. Do you realize?
no, but it
They
was
do.
happening
They
to
don't
me.
share it with us.
It happened all the time for me, so it still does. Not as much as it used to, but it still does. Like I said, moved here to Oklahoma, and not just me, but my parents started having these things happening, and all three of us did. Sitting out at night, can't have a campfire because burn bans, so we're staying as close
So
to the van
were
as
you
possible.
guys really like religious at this point, or is this something
Um,
prior to, after? I mean, why was this happening to your family? I'm just it's
my my parents um, grew up in religious families, and my dad was pretty well versed in the Bible. I mean, all of us were, um, you know, reading the Bible at dinner time. Reading the Bible on the weekends, on Wednesdays. Family getting together and talking about stuff. I mean, that was a regular thing with my family growing up. My grandparents, you know, and
interesting.
my grandparents' house was haunted.
Yeah.
Upstairs there was a Civil War soldier that had committed suicide in that house. The house was built back when I was a kid. It was already 150 years old,
Wow.
and the house was moved.
That must make the house ancient by now.
Yeah, yeah, it's starting to fall apart, but
200 years old home. All right.
yeah.
History on it. Yeah.
But that was a normal thing. I mean, we all stayed up in the attic when I was a kid. We lived in my grandparents' attic for a while, so
Wow.
that chest being in the corner, you know, it was the Civil War soldier's chest in the corner, and my grandma kept it. She kept things in it, and that's what made the connection with the spirits that were around. I mean, these weren't just your everyday mom and pop spirits. Oh, there's an old man or an old lady. No, these things were demons.
Now, when you say they were demons, what does that mean? What do they look like, or how do they
Like
behave?
floating in the air, no feet, wearing grayish brown cloaks to cover their bodies and cover their heads.
Well, we see a lot of that in
Big
the woods. I've
cloaks.
noticed a lot of that in the woods. Yeah.
And I saw them. My mom saw them. My grandparents saw them. My aunts, my aunts and uncles did see them. They just didn't want to talk about it very much, you know. But my mom started telling me about it when I started getting bothered, and then my grandparents knew. So, my especially my grandpa. My grandpa was uh, very keen at finding things out, you know. So he knew about all this stuff going on. They saw it every day. I mean, I. It didn't matter where I was. I could be in the bathroom taking a bath or using the restroom, and one pops up in the window. Or I look across and see in the garage window, see them going around in a circle, doing their little dance around the light. Same thing they would do upstairs at night with the lights on, even. You can see them, So it was a normal thing for me as a 6-year-old child that was happening with me. And every single night, my legs would get lifted up on the end of the bed, and slam down at least twice every night.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a little bit of problems with my Achilles from that, but yeah. But that happened every single night for quite a while. You know, I would go to bed, but I'd cover my head up, knowing what was going to happen. And, you know, they got into my dreams, of course, you know, and sometimes dreams and reality kind of mixed.
Especially, oh, yeah. Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that was very hard to go through, but
boy, I can just imagine Mike when Mike joins this show. If you still stick around, Mike, the questions you got for Bud here, my God. And it's just, but it's very interesting that you're bringing all this stuff up. This is going to eventually lead up to a Dogman and a Bigfoot encounter, because I do believe they go hand in hand.
Yeah,
I don't think one doesn't exist without the other. To be honest with you, I don't. And it hasn't happened, at least in my life, and what I've seen in many other people's lives, that, you know, there seems to be a lot of, well, we would call supernatural activity that happens in a person's life, and that leads up to eventually an encounter of some sort. It's not always the case. Some people claim otherwise, but you know, to say that you've been lifted up out of your bed a couple times, excuse me, is quite a claim. And
my
leg. I'm not questioning anything about you. I'm not saying it's not true. What I'm saying is that it's quite a claim in the fact that to go through that almost on a day. Now, my brother, when we grew up, my big brother, he used to, when the first house that we lived in, we were only there until I was 1 or 2. But he claimed that he always saw things at night as well, little green men at the edge of his bed and stuff like that. And he insisted it happened. He eventually ended up seeing Sasquatch and well, the same area, because he lives in that area where the Patterson film was filmed. So he and his wife ended up seeing a Sasquatch there.
Yeah.
And so yeah, there seems to be a strong correlation between the paranormal, some people call it the demonic, and then the also it leads up into these kind of other encounters in the woods. So, and the connection with the woods, and it kind of did it all start when you were in the woods, living in the woods, or did it happen to you from your memory prior to that?
No, this started happening at my grandparents' house,
which was after or before the woods.
That was before the woods.
Oh, yeah, that was before the woods. Not getting connected.
Yeah.
I'm all kind of confused here.
Because the only time I'd go at 6 years old out
be honest
near the
with
woods
you,
would be going fishing. You know?
Right. I wasn't expecting us to go down this road, but I'm glad I asked you to start a little early in our life, because it seems to be a common theme. So please continue, my friend.
Okay. When we had started camping out in the wildlife refuge when I was 29 years old, I heard the voices. Then things started coming into the campground, like shadows coming from behind trees, coming up the embankments of the lake, hearing just hearing things in the wind. Never heard any tree knocks or anything. I mean, you're in a wildlife refuge, there's all kinds of noise, so you don't really go with that, but you go with what you see visually. And my mom started seeing things, my dad started seeing things, but my dad didn't really talk about it so much. But my mom was telling me about seeing something standing outside the tent when we were asleep, and she'd wake up and she'd see something standing outside the tent, outside the zipper of the front of the tent. Well, I thought, okay, yeah, I'm seeing things. I'm starting to get more in tune with, because I'm part Native American, indigenous. I uh, started feeling the connection with the land more being out there. I mean, I felt these things around me. I could hear the trees talking to me, so to speak. Not literally, but you can just feel the energy. And I started feeling that more, and more things started to happen. Well, I started seeing these things, the shadows and things. And, we heard stories about the hairy man out there, and always somebody saying, be careful out there. You never know what you're going to run into. Well, of course, ran into a mountain lion. I mean, mountain lion came into camp, wanted to have the dog for dinner, but that's something you expect when you're out in the middle of a wildlife refuge. You expect wild animals to be coming around. But when you start seeing bipedal shadows, you start seeing these things standing not behind you, but in between you and the trees, and all you see is a shadow. When you've got your flashlight shining up the hill towards the showers to look for your parents, and you see a shadow standing between you and the trees that has long flowing hair and stands probably about 6.5, 7 feet. And the shadow is coming from behind the tree, but there's nothing behind the tree. So you start seeing things like that, and then you start hearing little noises like clicks and just sticks banging together. You hear like I fell asleep one night, and I was fixing to fall asleep, and we started hearing gourds playing outside the tent. And then what I thought was a coyote plopped down next to me. I was laying on the side of the tent.
I am so sorry about that. I was muted. What did you say was playing again?
Gourds.
Gourds.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you mean by that? Like drum, like gourds, or you're talking about
gourds,
like
you shake.
Oh, okay. I get you. Okay. Rattles, like type thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Shakers, rattles. Okay. Gourds. Okay.
Gourd rattles. Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're on the same page here. So.
Then a coyote plops down next to me. I'm laying on the one side of the tent, and it pops down next to me, is laying there panting, and the gourds are playing. And then we start hearing something walk around the tent. And it's not a human footstep. It's heavy. And yeah, it wasn't human. You can tell by the sound it made when the foot hit the ground over and over. It was not human. But, I'm like trying to tell my mom and dad that, it's just, it's probably the spirits talking. And I didn't really tell them about the coyote until the next day. But every single night for quite a long time, after we'd been out there for already like 2 months, all that stuff started happening. Well, I put 2 and 2 together with, I hate to rat my mom out, but she would take plants and rocks and put them in the van. And these things were trying to get in the van because we were sitting watching, or we were sitting at the picnic table, and we were talking, and we were looking towards the van, I had just closed and locked the doors on the van for the night, walked and sat down and started talking, and then the passenger side door opens and slams shut. Okay.
Okay.
I was like, yeah, they're trying to tell us something. And I look at my mom and I said, Mom, it's time to put the stuff back. Well, days go by on that, and I start getting these subtle signals of something telling me about, put it back, hearing it in the wind up in the showers again. Things would communicate with me, and I actually heard the words, put them back.
Interesting.
So I had to encourage my mom to put them back. And then one day she was like, okay, I'm going to put stuff back. So I help her take all the stuff and put it in a pile out in the middle of the campground. And we had this one buffalo, because all the buffalo herd would come there in the middle, and they got used to seeing us all the time because we stayed there every single day for 4 months. And there was this one buffalo that everywhere we went, it was around. No matter where we went in the wildlife refuge, it was there.
Buffalo.
The same buffalo. And I'm starting to put these things together, and I'm like, that's gotta be something other than a buffalo, because this thing follows, no matter if it's me and my mom and dad going somewhere, or if I'm going somewhere, always seeing that same buffalo. And my mom named it, so it got to know its name. It would look right at you when we say, hey, Daddy-O, that's what you called it. It would look straight at us and do his little head shake. That was acknowledgement.
So is your mom still around?
Yeah, she is.
Okay.
Yeah, she is. She's watching the show right now.
Is she with you right now?
No, she's in the living room.
Well, no, but she's in the same house with you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
But when she put the stuff back, this buffalo, she looks over at the buffalo and she's like, okay, Daddy-O, I put everything back. And this buffalo looks over at my mom, does the head shake, and then rolls over in the dirt, stands up, looks at my mom, runs away. Okay. So we're getting ready to leave a few days later. We're getting ready to leave because we found a house. So we go to leave this wildlife refuge. We're driving down the road towards Medicine Park. And guess what pops out of the woods? The buffalo.
Of course.
And he trots in front of our car, and he's looking back the whole time. He's trotting, and then when we got towards the gate, he steps to the side, stands there, and we're driving away, and he nods at us as we're leaving. We never saw that thing again. Never saw it. We'd go out there all the time. Never saw that buffalo again, and we knew the herd. It was one of the elders, and they hadn't done any eliminating of the herd up for a long time. So every time we go out there, we'd look for that buffalo and never saw him. Maybe he died. Maybe he wasn't. Those are questions left unanswered, and they'll never be answered.
Of course.
But those are the kind of things that led up to us seeing these shadows and just me feeling the environment change when something was about to happen. Me seeing these spirits appear. Like, I would be watching TV at night in my living room, and there would be a spirit walk into my kitchen, walk into the doorway of the living room, stand there and look at me. And I'm like, okay, what do you want? You know, it got to that point. I was like, okay, what do you want? You know, I had to figure out what they wanted. Well, there was an old man ghost. I guess he passed away in that house. Every night he'd come in the kitchen from the garage and make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
So it would make the sound of making peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or actually
No,
literally?
he would literally make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Okay. So
But the
hold on,
peanut
hold on.
butter and jelly wasn't actually there. You know, I could see it, but he didn't actually. He pulled it out of the cupboard where he kept it. So he was making peanut butter and jelly. I could see the peanut butter and jelly and the knife and the bread and all that. But when he'd pick up the peanut butter and jelly, he'd turn around to me and just stare at me and then turn around and walk back out, not even opening the door, just walk through the door and out into the garage door.
Okay.
Until,
Bud, I don't know, I mean, how many? Okay, so first of all, this is going to be some interest. So this is a spirit of an old man that lived there. He would come and he would open up the cupboard. He would get a jar of peanut butter,
and
right?
jelly.
And jelly. Now, where did he get the bread from?
He reached like over onto the counter and he would pull it in, and then the bread would appear. He'd just like reach and there would be the bread, and he'd pull the bread out, put it down, 2 slices down, open up the jars that weren't actually there.
So none of this was there. The jar wasn't there, peanut butter and jelly. The bread wasn't there, but
Right.
you could see it visualized. It visually appeared real, or at least, but it wasn't physicals, but you could see it.
Right.
This is important data, by the way. Another thing to think about, especially out in the field and you're seeing these things, folks.
Yeah.
And then it would repeat itself and do that over and over again, and it would seem very, very real. And then it would go right through the door and right in the garage.
Right. Every single night at the same time, every single night.
Now, was there anything different about the old man as far as his looks? Did he have a kind of translucent look to him, or was he have a shimmer about him, or something like vibrational kind of thing going on?
Just a little translucent, like it looked like me and you, but you could slightly see through him.
Wow.
Yep.
All right. This is one heck of a story. I mean, by the way, I've served so many similar things to this that's very plausible and very real to me. So, I mean,
yeah. Well, that would go on for a good while I lived in that house. But when I got older and after my dad died, after my dad passed away in 2008, we moved back down to Texas, and then came back up here after a year. This part's a little hard for me to talk about, but a year to the day after my dad passed away, my mom was sick with pneumonia, very sick, and I was in the room with my mom. My sister goes outside and she's looking at the moon, I guess, and she comes running in. And she's like, Bud, there's an orb going around the moon. You need to come out and take a picture. Look at this. So I run out with my digital camera and I zoom in, and sure enough, there's this white orb going around the moon. I mean, it's so small, it looks like an orb going around the moon. Well, I'm standing there and I've got the digital camera watching it and I'm filming it, and all of a sudden it just zoomed like down towards me, and I can see it getting larger and larger. And I'm keeping it on camera the whole time. And when it gets right in front of me, it changes from a yellowish to a bluish orb. And my dad's looking right in the camera. My dad.
So hold on, no. So the blue orb, and it appears as your dad. And so did your dad? Is he inside the orb, or does he come out of the orb?
He's inside the orb, but when I'm looking through the camera, he's staring right at me. And everybody that knew my dad had, when he was young, he didn't have a beard, but when he got older, he grew a beard. Well, he also started wearing cowboy hat and boots when he got older, and he tried to make it as a country western singer. So that's the image that he liked. And when he appeared in that camera to me, I snapped a picture, and the picture came out. It was my dad looking about 30-ish, but with a beard and a cowboy hat.
Do you still have the picture?
I had it, and then I went to show it to a friend of mine who works in the paranormal field, and his image disappeared.
His image disappeared from the
image
photo?
was in the picture up to that very minute that I went to show my friend the picture.
Really?
And then it disappeared, and it hasn't returned.
It's kind of like the Mandela effect going on with that picture, huh?
Yeah. Well, see,
you had a lot of experiences. Is this something that seems recurring? Is this something that something that's always been kind of like a focus of yours, something that you've been an interest of yours? Is this something you've thought a lot about in the course of your life, or is it just something that sporadically happens here and there, and it's just
when you see these things day in and day out, it's hard not to think about it.
Well, yeah, but if you say day in and day out, I mean that's quite a claim. Because I mean, there's a lot of people I know out there who are investigators and the people that try to make things happen, and they might go years without even seeing anything, and you're claiming this happening day in and day out.
I went a few years without seeing or hearing anything, but up until I moved here to Oklahoma. When I moved here to Oklahoma, everything started happening again like it did. Not like when I was a kid, I didn't see the demons and all this, but get things messing with you, trying to toy with you, and hiding things from you.
I'm not judging you at all, or say there's something that you're doing wrong. I'm not even doing that. I mean, because I know what it's like. I mean, when it's what I mean. Anyone pays attention to what I'm up to and what I've been doing, I don't even try that hard in these things. I can film them and stuff. So that's like, I mean, for you to have these kind of experiences, it's not so hard fetched. I mean, I've had a lot of people buffalo me and lie to me and deceive me in the course of 6 years. And so I'm okay. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and usually the truth works itself out one way or the other. And so, but once in a while, there is a person that shows up in this world that just has consistent supernatural paranormal experiences throughout their lives. And, you try to explain it away and say it was this, that, or the other, I mean, me and my brother had conversations about it and say, was it something our mom did? Was it the tarot cards that she did? This kind of stuff. And I'm just like, after all this time, I'm like, the truth of the matter is, and you can even say that it's generational curses and regional curses and blah, blah. There's multiple facets involved in this. It's really easy to blame everybody else, mom and dad, and this and all that kind of stuff. And we went through those things. And I just, at this point, is like, I know some of the nicest people who've done everything right according to whatever book they're going by, whether it's the Bible, whatever, and they still end up having this stuff. But the thing is, they're not tormented by it. They're not terrorized by it.
Right.
They're just having experiences, and that doesn't. It's not. You know what I'm saying? I mean, having experience doesn't necessarily have to be negative. It might seem negative at the time or at times, but overall, I mean, it could be literally a gift from God himself to reveal to you and others and the reality of the spiritual realm around us. So you have to take it whatever. I've had very negative experiences and like spiritual warfare. One that lasted intensely nonstop for 3 days. I've had other times where a few moments, and you know what? When I finally let go and stop being so afraid of all this stuff, and said, I'm just going to focus on the truth and you, the Lord of all spirits, and if they show up, they show up, and if they don't, they don't, and there's really no point in living life in fear. So that's my soapbox right now for speech. But it's interesting you're bringing up all this stuff, right? And you're still around.
Yeah. Well.
And you seem halfway sane, and so. And hey, how's it going, Native Medicine Bear Claw woman?
Hey, Ramona.
Wonderful woman, Ramona. So we get back to this thing. We are now I just got derailed a little bit, but where are we at now? There's the peanut butter incident.
Okay. Yeah.
Then where were we at after that? We're at 2 shifts. I was just expecting, Harold, we're going to be talking about you having a Dogman and Bigfoot encounter, and we haven't even got to there yet. But it's important that we're talking about this because people, there's quite a few of us who have had a lifetime situations that only start to really become real to us or get to a point, or is it like a head? It comes to a head with this encounter with a quote unquote Sasquatch or Dogman or something like that. So
yeah. Okay. Well, when after my dad passed away in 2008, we moved in with my brother, and this was where I had the encounter with the Bigfoot. And what I would say was a Dogman, or it could have been a half breed Dogman Sasquatch, because the way it appeared to me, it didn't look fully like a Dogman description. It kind of had both features. But coming into that, it was this Halloween night, and like I said, I was leaning on the fence, looking at the moon. I was going to take pictures with my cell phone, but I had to put my cell phone on the charger. So I left it on the charger in my bedroom upstairs. So I'm out there and I'm looking at the moon, and I smell this ungodly smell. Like I said, the skunk and dead wet dog kind of smell. If you've ever smelled a dead wet dog, you know what I'm talking about.
It's been a while, but yeah,
I know pretty much everybody smelled a skunk, but yeah. Yeah, I had a skunk encounter yesterday. I mean, not really encounter, a dead skunk in my backyard. But anyways, this smell happened about, I smelled it for maybe 5 seconds at the most. And then I'm looking up at the moon, and out the corner of my eye, I'm leaning down on the fence post, on the fence, and I'm looking at the corner of my eye. I see something move up and stops evenly with me.
Now, is this the same incident when you see your father in the orb, or is it different?
No, this is after that. This is years after that. This is like 4 years after.
Interesting you brought up a blue orb. Now, when my uncle died last year, my aunt told me afterwards, shortly after, within maybe a day or two, that he appeared at her bed, the end of her bed, and he was in a blue light, and he talked to her for a little bit. And he said he just wanted to stop by and said he's okay. And it's a fascinating story, actually, the message that was revealed to her. We'll
Uh,
talk about it a different time. And then he disappeared. He said, "I'll never see you again." And it was nice seeing you. So it's interesting that the people, especially close, it sounds like maybe you were really close to your father.
oh, yeah.
And he showed up in your life after he passed away. And the others, he came back for a short visit, maybe to just let you know that
Well,
he was thinking about you, and
the
then he go.
miraculous thing about my dad showing up was the very next day, my mom was 100% over pneumonia. So, I'm not going to say that it was my dad coming to save my mom, but that's what happened. My mom was 100% cured of pneumonia the very next day after being pretty much on her deathbed.
Mm.
So,
Say that last part again.
after my mom was pretty much on her deathbed, the very next day after my dad appeared in the orb and on my camera, my mom was healed of pneumonia.
So you feel there's a correlation between the two?
There has to be. I mean,
I don't know. I'm asking you, but it seems to be. That's no. Okay. Well,
that's
let me
my
ask the
personal
question. Why do you feel it that way, or does she see it that way?
Oh yeah.
Does she
Yeah.
see it that way? Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right.
My whole family that was there saw it.
Somehow we need to get your mom into this conversation. She's in the same house. She needs to come over here and talk with us and share with us her side of things here. This is fast. I'll be honest with you. We hear a lot about Dogman and Bigfoot and all that kind of stuff, but very rarely do we get this opportunity that you're giving us of tying the Dogman and Bigfoot with the paranormal. And and I'll tell you one thing. It's quite, it sounds like you've had one hell of a life, my friend. That's for sure. When it comes to that aspect of your life, you know what I mean?
We could talk all night. I got stories.
Well, I got all night to talk. Everybody's paid attention to this show knows I'll talk all night. So,
yeah, well,
tell your mom she's welcome to come in. Mm-hmm. In fact, we're gonna try to get. We're gonna really. If she's listening, Mama, you need to come on over here and talk to us. Talk to us boys and let us know what the heck's going to happen, please, at some point.
Oh, don't tempt her. I know she's listening.
I'm being serious about
me up
this,
out
my
of the
friend.
chair.
Bud. I'm being serious about it. I'd be fascinated to see what her side of things is. It'd be great. So, okay, so this, I'm sorry to derail that part, but I don't, when I hear like something that sticks out, I got to talk to you about it. I mean, it's part of my job, or part of it's not even my job. It's part of who I am. So anyways, we're back to this orb,
Mhm.
the second one, and what's going on here with the fence and everything.
Okay, this is 4 years after seeing my dad with
Right.
this. Somebody's gonna say, "Well, it was Halloween night, so you probably saw somebody in a costume." Okay, how do you fake a 9-foot tall female and a 7-foot tall man in the middle of Lawton, Oklahoma? And
Now, are we getting to this now? The point of the Dogman and the Bigfoot now?
yeah,
Okay, now let's talk. Let's just go back a little bit because Thursday we're talking about, and you were walking. You said that you had to walk to work like a mile and a half to work one way and back, or get the bus and all that kind of stuff. And so there was things leading up to this. So talk about it before we get to this point, please.
oh, okay, yeah. The point of I was working. I was working I was working on base and having to catch the bus at 6 in the morning, and then getting on the bus and home by 6:30 at night. So it's dark in the morning and dark in the evening most of the time.
Working on the base now. We are talking about
Fort Sill.
Okay, and it's Marines. You said it earlier. Marine
Yeah,
Corps,
it's a joint military.
and they made you walk. And so this is the job that was outside, or in the base.
Well, no, I was a housekeeping supervisor, so I worked inside and out. I had to do a lot of walking, but I'm saying walking home from the bus, I had to take the bus, so I had to walk about a mile, mile and
Oh,
a half
so
every day.
you weren't living on the base. You were
No,
you were walking, and so you had to walk a mile and a half.
yeah,
Now, and when you're walking a mile and a half, what's around you? Is it all woods? Is it all houses? Is what?
no, it's coming from downtown Lawton, which is office buildings and some
And I wanted to
residential.
bring this up because you said say this. This is happening really close or in civilization when this is happening,
Hmm.
which is
Yeah.
not. I know this is real because I had it happen to me. So
Well,
not the same scenario, but Bigfoot for sure.
because the main bus depot was downtown, so you have to cut through town to get to where I was living. So um, you don't get to any woodland or nothing until you reach the very edge.
No, were there any groves or the patches of woods along the way? I mean, was there
There's a park.
trees?
There's a park, and there's a creek that runs through the middle of the town of the city.
Ah, you gotta have that creek
And
in there. Gotta have
yeah,
that creek.
well, it's got it's layered with cement, so it's been cemented over for drainage. But
What's the
this
running
this
water?
park, there's not a whole lot of trees, but except for the residential areas, then you start getting trees in everybody's yards and in
Right.
alleyways, and you know, so we lived off of an alleyway. There's an alleyway that went right by the house, so I have to walk up that alleyway every morning and every night to get back home.
Yeah.
And every single morning, walking by there, I would hear things in the vacant houses that were right along there, especially this one vacant house that had apple trees in the backyard, right up next to the alleyway. Okay, so I'm hearing and seeing these trees rattle, and then I stop and I say things like, it's just me, or you don't have to be afraid. I know you're here.
Now, wait, when you say this,
Yes, I
I,
say this because
but how do you know? Oh, so do you at this point do you know who you're speaking to?
no,
So,
no,
but
I
so
don't know what I'm saying it to. I just feel the energy that I'm
did you
always
feel
used
any
to.
fear or dread when you walk by this place, or is it just? I mean, you must have felt some sense of awkwardness or fear. I mean,
Yeah, it's a little awkward when you're coming up on something and you feel the energy. It's a little awkward. You're gonna feel a little awkward.
right?
But when
Yeah,
you get kind of desensitized from things that happen when
yeah.
you're a child, like I'm not afraid of it. I'll walk up to anything and be like, I'm not afraid because I'm
Right,
not. My fear left me as a child
right.
when it comes to that kind of stuff. When I have these feelings, and like my fear left me as a child, so I approach these things without fear. But I have just that overwhelming feeling of knowing something's there.
Because yeah, it's you were talking about an abandoned house. I mean, the first thing that would come to anybody's mind is are the people there? Are these people? Are these drug addicts? Are these what are these squatters? Are these am I in a safe situation? But
Yeah. Well,
you,
nobody liked to go into this one house. The back door was always open, and you could tell something was staying in there, even though they weren't supposed to. Um, it's just the feeling I had when I came around that. I had to walk by that every single day, twice a day.
right.
And if I wanted to go to the park, I had to walk by it, or go to a certain store, I had to walk by it. So, you know, but it was only in the mornings and in the evenings when these apple trees would rattle.
All right.
Okay. And then um, not too long before this incident, I was coming home from work and walking there, and it was pitch black dark. But I know where to walk, and I do it every day. So I'm walking, and then I hear the trees rattling, and I stop and I look over at the trees, and I said, it's just me. I'm trying to get home. I do this every day. As soon as I say that those trees stop rattling, and the brush on the other side of me starts to move.
This is interesting what you're saying. So, did you see anything in the trees outside of trees rattling leading up to this point?
I did not see anything. I didn't smell anything. I didn't see anything. Just the trees moving and rattling.
Mm.
And then they'd stop as soon as I said something. Okay. So I just continue on and go home that night. Then Halloween comes around, about, I don't know, 3 days later, Halloween comes around, and I'm in the backyard, and I'm looking at the moon, admiring it, and I'm leaning up against the fence and smell that smell. I smell that smell, and maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds after I smelled that smell, I saw something walk up into my peripheral vision, and I'm leaning on the fence, and I go like this, and I'm like looking up at these two humongous creatures, and I notice one's brown or copperish brown, and the other one's white. I mean, snow white, but with pink skin. And I'm hurting my neck trying to look. So I kind of straighten up, and I look over at this brown creature, and I notice, I'm like, holy crap, that's a Bigfoot. I'm saying in my head, that's a freaking Bigfoot.
Now, before we get any further of this, I just want to ask a question. Now, let's go back to the peanut butter and jelly incident with the old man.
Mm-hmm.
And you saw him numerous times. You said he has slight transparency about him. Did these two entities that you were looking at this time have similar characteristics? Did it seem the same? Did they have a bit of a transparency about them?
No, there was no transparency with these two creatures.
Did you notice if it seemed like there might have been electricity or something running through them?
No, they were flesh and blood.
So they flat up appeared to be flesh and blood.
Mm-hmm.
And they're coming out of the bush. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, the neighbor has a shed that's built like a barn, and she would always leave things out for her quote unquote friends to eat. Apples, oranges, chocolate, hard candies, different things. And she would always say that they're for my friends. Well, I got to meet her friends because they came walking out, and I'm looking at them, and I look over at the female. I could tell it's a female because she's got breasts. And I look at her, and she's looking at me, and you can see the white of her eyes, brown eyes with black pupils. And she's leaning like this, looking at me. She's looking me up and down, and she's, just. And then I say, "Oh, hi." That's all I could say was just something came out, just, "Oh, hi." And she looks at me, and she's doing this, and she goes, "Whoop, whoop, whoop, whoop." And she's expecting me to answer her back because she just looked at me like, okay. I didn't say a word, but I look over at this other creature, which is the female is no more than maybe 3.5 feet from me. this male creature, I know it's male because I saw the genitalia. This male creature is standing right next to the fence.
Mm.
No more than 2 feet away from me at any time. This thing could have reached across and choked the life out of me. But it was standing there, and he just stood there looking at me like he wanted to kill me. You know, chest heaving and deep breathing, and you could see the steam coming out of his nostrils and
Steam coming out of his nostrils.
saliva dripping out of his mouth. And he's got what looks like a dog's head, a wolf canine, but with a shorter snout.
Now, before we go any further, let's go back to this brush. So now, how big are these things again?
The female was about 9 feet tall.
And the Dogman was about?
The male was about 7 feet because he was about a good
Now,
2
you
feet
say this
shorter.
brush, how big of an area of brush is this? I mean,
this is not brush. They are coming out of the shadows from this shed. Right.
and now they got like this because I'm so I apologize.
Right.
So they're coming out of the shadows of the shed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they're coming out of from behind the building. And were there brush around that building? Is that what you're saying?
No. There was one skinny tree right next to me. That was it. About that big around.
How big of a shed was this?
It was probably 12 by 10.
And they just came out around the shed. Okay.
They came out of the shadow. I don't know
They
where.
came out. It's very important when you said that they came out of the shadow. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay. So we can go back to it now where we were at. So I'm sorry. Just want to make some clarification. I want to make sure I understand what you're saying. That's all.
Okay.
I'm very interested in this story.
When I said to her, "Oh, hi," and then she did the 4 whoops back at me. I mean, they were like whisper whoops. I mean, real soft. And she just kept admiring me, looking me up and down, and occasionally looking over at this male creature. Well, this male creature, like I said, he's standing there and he's staring at me like just a death stare, pretty much. And he's not moving except for his chest heaving and just heavy breathing. And he's got his mouth hanging wide open, tongue hanging out. He's got canines in the top, canines in the bottom, and really sharp teeth along the sides. And he's got regular human-looking teeth in the front, but much larger. She had what looked like human teeth, but much larger. She was a very beautiful creature. I mean, she looked like half ape, half human. She did, but she had a cone head.
Do you remember her eyes?
Her eyes were the best I can explain is if you've ever seen a gorilla's eyes, that's pretty much what she looked like in the eye.
Because there's one thing I've noticed, and something about this, at least the ones that seem to be appear to be female. Excuse me. Their eyes have this kind of almost mesmerizing effect about it. It's different than like the male, say Bigfoot or other things. It's like it's when you look at them in the eyes have this kind of a softening effect to them, to you. Some men have actually even claimed to say this is seductive. There's something about these eyes that are it's almost the appearance of longing and love kind of thing. Did you notice that at all with this female Bigfoot?
She was looking at me like she was admiring me, but she was just looking at me because we all had a shocked look on our face. They did, and I did. We all had a shocked look, and then it went from shock to being an admiring look at each
That's
other.
funny.
It was just like, can't believe that we're this close. And we're all looking at each other like, okay, who's going to do what next? And I'm looking at her and staring back at him back and forth. And I look at him and he starts to just, really starts to breathe hard, and he starts to clench his fists, just at his sides, but he's squeezing his fists, opening, squeezing, and he's breathing really hard. So all of a sudden, I take a step back because I know he's about to do something. So I take a step back from the fence, and this female creature, this what I know was a Sasquatch, puts her shoulder, her arm, her hand on his shoulder, kind of rough, like just like boom, and she grabs it, squeezes it, and looks at me, then looks at him. He looks at her, and then he looks at me, and then she takes her hand off of his shoulder and shoves him right in the back.
Okay.
So he took that as, okay, we got to go. He walking towards the alleyway, and she's following right behind him, and then she catches up and is walking beside him. And I see every detail of these things. I'm looking for zippers. I'm looking for everything, and there's nothing. It's skin and hair, toenails, fingernails, everything.
Genitals, breasts, anything like that?
Yes, genitals, breast, butt crack, you name it.
Really? You can see all that stuff? Really?
Mm-hmm.
In detail, like the buck right. So so you could definitely tell that it was a female. It had breasts, it had
You can,
a vagina, and so
yeah,
then
kind of
and
like
then-
the Patterson Gimlin film where you see the breasts jiggle.
Right.
You ever seen a naked woman walk? You know what breasts look like when they're moving.
I've never seen that before. Actually, I don't. I wouldn't mind if I never see it again. To be honest with you, just because nothing but trouble in my life. So
these things walked about 30 feet into the alleyway. This male creature stops, turns towards me. The female creature walks and stops right behind him, and he looks at me. And you know how they're both walking hunched over. They have the classic hunch over, and he turns at the waist and to look at me, and then he turns all the way around. Well, she is standing right behind him. He looks at me and flexes like he's doing some kind of Mr. Olympia contest, flexing at me, and then he proceeds to beat his chest 4 times, and then he lets out this awful screech, howl, growl. It's awful. He does that, and as soon as he does that, she grabs him on the shoulder again, but kind of turns him towards the alleyway and then shoves him really hard in the back. And he takes that as, okay, I got to stop. So they're both walking on, and she's making sure he's going because she's looking at him. And then they both, when they got about 20 feet down the alley, they're looking back at me. And when they're looking back, they're not turning their heads all the way because they can't. They turn at the waist. And as they're walking, they keep staring at me until they go into the darkness. When it went into the darkness, I was standing there watching it, and then it dawned on me, these things, especially that white thing, is a killer. So I'm like thinking in my head, and I'm like, F this, I'm gonna go get my bat. I run inside, get my bat, running outside into the alleyway. I'm standing there looking around. I don't see anything, so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess that's the end of that.
Just like that. It was there and it was gone the next. There
Yeah.
one moment and gone the next.
But this white male creature, his features were not like hers all the way. He had some features like hers, being that they both were bipedal. They both had 2 arms, 2 legs. But there's something I know some people are going to probably want to argue with me, but these things had 5 fingers and 5 toes. No mistaking, 5 fingers, 5 toes. I was 2 feet away. I saw it in the brightest of moonlight you could ever have.
See the kind of controversy you create, Biggie. Yeah, man. Jeez.
I'm not
Troublemaker.
saying
Biggie's a troublemaker, man.
Bigfoot does not have 6 toes, but these creatures, this Bigfoot and this Dogman, did not have 6 toes and 6 fingers. I counted. There's a difference. It's a territorial thing.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean,
Oklahoma.
honestly, who knows, but I mean, you saw what you saw. There's no you don't need to defend yourself at all.
I saw what I
you
saw.
You saw. It doesn't matter if anybody agrees or not. It's your experience. So
Right.
carry on with it, okay?
Well, this white creature, looking a lot like the female, but shorter, but bigger in stature, like built like Lou Ferrigno, the Hulk, built like that. She was muscular, but she was more tall and lean.
Did she have like a kind of sense of femininity outside the fact that she had swinging boobies? I mean, I'm serious. Did she kind of have like what normal, like human female proportion type things, like with wider hips and stuff like that?
She looked like the Bigfoot. Patterson.
Well, that Patty, that one, man, that was one ugly looking thing. I can tell you that much.
She looked like that, but her facial features up close, she was beautiful in the face. Her fur was clean and straight. She had longer hair like a mane that came down the back, and it went all the way down the middle of the back. But the rest of her hair,
braiding, and that kind of stuff. Did you notice? Any ponytail,
no braiding. It was just straight. She wasn't matted at all, but her hair went from the mane being long. Her hairline starts about right here, and then goes in a straight, almost looking like a female with a mullet. But
why not, man? Female with a mullet, why not?
Yeah, but the hair's longer and it kind of comes out on the shoulders, but then goes all the way down the back, and it's long until it gets to the middle of the back, and then it's all short hair, except on her arms, her forearms, long brown hair on the forearms, and it covered everything up to the knuckles. No hair on the hands, except on the top of the hand, covering the knuckle area, and the fingers were all exposed. Same thing for this white creature. Same kind of hairstyle, I guess you could say, on the white creature, except for around his groin area, and his shoulders had longer hair. And he was nasty, muddy, dirty. He stunk to high heaven. Just
kind of like your typical dude, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Typical dude that had been out in the mudding for a couple days and didn't shower.
All right.
But this thing had pointed ears. It had ears on the side, pointed ears, came up probably about 6 inches from the top of his head, or not from the top, from the side of his head.
Side of his head.
Yeah, and came up. He had
So let's try this. This is sound funny, but it's not so much. The ears like this,
yes,
or really like this?
no, ears the other way.
No,
Yeah.
because I feel I've seen certain entities that look like that.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm just-
Kind of like that, but and I could see all the detail, the fine hairs inside the ear hole, all that. And he's looking at me, and he's got this nose just like a canine. He's got the leather part of the nose showing. He's got the split in the lip, and he's got a mouth that is a cross between the Bigfoot mouth and a canine's mouth, everywhere except for the split in the lip right here.
Mhm.
Okay. Couldn't tell if he had whiskers or not, because he's got all this fur, white fur all around here.
Right. Hey, can I go back to this? I know it sounds really corny. This is like, why is he talking about the ears? There's a reason for it. Now he has ears like that. Were they vertically straight, noticeably straight, or were they cupped? Cupped. You know what I'm saying?
They were straight at the top, and then when they came down towards the head, they kind of cupped.
They kind of cupped. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And his ears were set back further than ours. You know how we have the ear hole here. His was more back this way. So he had the snout that came out. The snout, I would say, probably stuck out about like that.
Uh-huh.
He had, like I said, he had the canines.
So he didn't have like the Doberman Pinscher type snout. He had more of a rounded.
It was. That's why I was thinking it was probably a hybrid, because he had the features of the female Bigfoot mixed with a canine.
Yeah.
He looked a lot like her, except body wise, with the how can you say it? With the exception of her having breasts, he looked a lot like her, but on steroids. Like
Right.
You see somebody on steroids. That's why I said like Lou Ferrigno, because he was huge. He had the male body like a human being, but with a dog's head, like a cross between a human being and a Sasquatch.
It makes me wonder about that. Anybody who's ever been in bodybuilding, and if you know, man, when you get these big biceps and arms and everything, traps and tries and back, I mean, there's trade-off, right? So you look like a mountain of man, but your flexibility and your movement is impaired terribly when you're that muscular. So
Now,
I just wonder about that.
I do have to say, though, his arms were a little bit longer than someone of his stature, like a 7-foot tall person would be. The arms were longer, the legs were longer. He did not have canine feet. He didn't have claws. He did not have his hands looked like normal hands, except he had long, dirty, yellowish fingernails. Their toenails were yellow and dirty, with dirt crammed up in them and cracked. Both of them the same way.
Great, you were able to see that kind of detail.
Yes.
How close were these things to you?
No more than 3.5 feet to the female. the male creature was standing right next to me with only the fence separating us.
So that's, I mean, how far is that?
When I stepped back one step, it was no
Uh-huh.
more than 2 feet between me and the male creature.
It's, 2 feet like this. Can you see this like that?
Yeah.
That's right there.
Mm-hmm.
You understand that, right?
When he first walked out, we were almost shoulder to shoulder.
And if he intended to hurt you or were capable of hurting you, he had every ample opportunity to do so. And nobody would have known.
Nobody would have
We
known.
like to say jack squatch about it. All right, man.
Nobody would have known. Because the only one that knew I went outside was my brother. And he was on the computer.
He was on the computer.
Yeah, he's on the computer downstairs. And then when these things walk away, I walk into the house and he's on his computer. And I say to him, guess what I just saw? And he's like, what? I said, Bigfoot. And he's like, oh, you're pulling my leg. Like, no.
All right. Well, at this point, if you don't mind, and if everyone else is okay, let's take an intermission. I'm going to take a break myself. And I'm going to have a cigarette and all that kind of break. And then I'll invite anybody still around if they want to come in. We'll talk, and then we'll go from there. Okay, buddy?
All right.
Thank you for your time, for your story. I mean, the amount of things it's especially the childhood part of stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then they have, 3.5 feet away from you and a 2 foot Dogman 2 feet away from you. I mean, did you ever do any drawings about these things, or any kind of
No, I haven't drawn them. I haven't not. I'm contemplating doing so, but I haven't drawn them at all.
Okay. With that, let's do some. The rest of you guys, you're sticking around and want to join us. What I will do is first leave an invite. Anybody's welcome to join. Share comments, share your thoughts, and geez, what your mom thinks about all this. She must be like, what the heck? Yeah, that stuff. Okay, and with that, what shall we play? Well, you know what? We'll start out. This might be an intermission of 5 to 10 minutes, if it's okay with you guys. So we'll start out with the audio that I did yesterday because I like Wizard Tattoo. I like their music. So here we go.
This is a clip from a movie, My Dinner with Andre.
Why do you think that is? I mean, why is that? I mean, is it just because people are lazy today, or they're bored? I mean, are we just like bored, spoiled children who've just been lying in the bathtub all day, just playing with their plastic duck, and now they're just thinking, well, what can I do?
Okay, yes. We are bored. We're all bored now. But has it ever occurred to you, Wally, that the process that creates this boredom that we see in the world now may very well be a self-perpetuating, unconscious form of brainwashing created by a world totalitarian government based on money, and that all of this is much more dangerous than one thinks? And it's not just a question of individual survival, Wally, but that somebody who's bored is asleep, and somebody who's asleep will not say no? See, I keep meeting these people. I mean, just a few days ago, I met this man whom I greatly admire. He's a Swedish physicist, Gustav Bjornstrand, and he told me that he no longer watches television, he doesn't read newspapers, and he doesn't read magazines. He's completely cut them out of his life because he really does feel that we're living in some kind of Orwellian nightmare now, and that everything that you hear now contributes to turning you into a robot. When I was at Findhorn, I met this extraordinary English tree expert who had devoted his life to saving trees. Just got back from Washington, lobbying to save the redwoods. He's 84 years old. He always travels with a backpack because he never knows where he's going to be tomorrow. And when I met him at Findhorn, he said to me, "Where are you from?" And I said, "New York." He said, "New York, yes, that's a very interesting place. Do you know a lot of New Yorkers who keep talking about the fact that they want to leave but never do?" And I said, "Oh, yes." And he said, "Why do you think they don't leave?" I gave him different than our theories. He said, "Oh, I don't think it's that way at all." He said, "I think that New York is the new model for the new concentration camp, where the camp has been built by the inmates themselves, and the inmates are the guards, and they have this pride in this thing they've built. They've built their own prison, and so they exist in a state of schizophrenia, where they are both guards and prisoners, and as a result, they no longer have, having been lobotomized, the capacity to leave the prison they've made, or to even see it as a prison." And then he went into his pocket and he took out a seed for a tree, and he said, "This is a pine tree." He put it in my hand and he said, "Escape before it's too late." See, actually, for 2 or 3 years now, Chiquita and I have had this very unpleasant feeling that we really should get out. And we really should feel like Jews in Germany in the late 30s. Get out of here. Of course, the problem is where to go, because it seems quite obvious that the whole world is going in the same direction. See, I think it's quite possible that the 1960s represented the last burst of the human being before he was extinguished, and that this is the beginning of the rest of the future now, that from now on there'll simply be all these robots walking around, feeling nothing, thinking nothing, and there'll be nobody left almost to remind them that there once was a species called a human being, with feelings and thoughts, and that history and memory are right now being erased, and soon nobody will really remember that life existed on the planet.
All right. So again, we get back into the second part of our time with Bud and his experience with Dogman and Bigfoot and spirits and demons and voices and poltergeists and everything else you can imagine. This guy's seen it all. Let's see where we're going at. Let's see if people are moving on here. Let's see if the comments have been made. Hey guys, still here, but won't be up for too long tonight. I will reach out to you, Harold, so we can talk more sometime. Amazing stories. I would like to get in touch on Messenger or call to talk more. It's from Mike, and see what else. I just wanted to say goodnight to everyone. A long last couple days. Sure, I bet. Yeah. Everyone, hit the like button. Yeah. Well, if you choose so, it's up to you guys. Talk to you soon, Ord. You bet, bud. Bye, Mike. Okay. You find out who your friends are for sure. Know what that means. Maybe go over that. Maybe we have an echo going on, buddy, on your end. So bad echo.
Yeah, hold on.
We have an echo going on, buddy, on your end. So you're not wearing your choker. I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what that means. I was early. Okay. Oh, that's what he's talking. He's talking to you. Bring it back. Okay. 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 All right, nice. So, anyways, this entity or spirits and entities that I filmed. It's interesting how it's manifesting itself. The most important thing that I find, and you can see, there's like a metallic-looking circle, like an orb. Yeah. Lots of entities in that one. Anyways, well, Harold, we're at this point where you were describing your your interaction with a Dogman and a Bigfoot, a female Bigfoot being literally 3.5 feet from you, and then the Dogman being 2 feet, which is extremely close. Extremely close.
Yeah.
And then she hits them on the back, and then they just walk away, right?
Yeah.
And you go and you get a bat, and okay, I mean, that's quite a response in its own right. But then again, you said you have no fear, so if it was me, and I think I'd I'd go in the house and stay there for a while. I wouldn't be doing. The live stream on my end looks fuzzy. How do I fix this? I have good Wi-Fi connection. You might want to, Melissa, if you're still around, you might want to pop in and out again. And if anybody else is having a problem, let me know. As far as my end, everything seems to be fine. And it could be something that's going on. I mean, if everybody else is having something fuzzy going, let us know. Yeah, so you get the bat. They come back out. There's nothing there. So what's next? What next?
Well, that was pretty much it for that. I mean, there were no tracks. There were no sign of them after they left. I mean, that was it, and that was the only time that they came around. After that, there was no more tree shaking. Nothing.
Nothing. No. And did you ever see them again?
Nope, never saw them again.
So what do you think the point was then? When there's two books. So anyways, what was the point? And having that interaction and then nothing else. I mean, do you just keep on walking down that path after that?
Oh yeah, I did
and
that
what did you carry weapon or
nope
your bat with you?
Well, I mean, I always carry a knife, but that's me.
Well, I just I'm bringing this up is not because I'm questioning you, but I just if you had mind you, it wasn't necessarily a bad encounter, but people are pretty a bit hesitant about walking down that path again after having that good experience. But then again, if you have no choice in the matter, you're going to have to do it regardless.
You know,
But you think you
the
would have
next
to.
morning when I had to go to work, I'm like, yeah, I walk down there and I'm looking there and I don't see any sign of them. The apple trees are fine. There's nothing, no sign
So
of
there was
them.
no hesitation, no nervousness at all walking down this path after that.
Nope.
I mean,
When they don't show themselves again, there's no sign of them, no energy, nothing. What can you do? I mean, I have to go to work. That was my way to work. So
right. Well, I'm just saying, it's one of those things that, I mean, I would be constantly looking around while I'm walking there and back, especially just to say, when is the next time it's going to happen? Of course, the next time hardly ever happens. But,
I didn't expect it to happen the first time. I was just outside looking at the moon.
well, yeah, I understand that. Well, you were walking, right? You were, wait a minute, you said you were outside looking at the moon?
Yeah, the night that happened, I wasn't expecting it. I'm like I'm near downtown Lawton, Oklahoma, where the only thing that happens is drive-bys and drug busts.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. I'm just saying, it's like it'd be, and then on top of that, there was a Dogman and a Bigfoot come right in front of your face, literally in your grill, and then I just I think with such a moment like that, I would be like constantly looking, but that's me, and I can't say how you were supposed to respond or
Of course,
not.
I'm gonna walk by it and I'm gonna look and I'm gonna see, and if I don't feel nothing, I don't feel nothing. So I'm like, okay, I gotta go to work.
All right. Now, did you know about the Dogman at the time when this happened? You already knew about the Dogman? It sounds like you already knew about Bigfoot, so
I heard a little bit about dogmen, but I didn't think.
Now, have you had any other encounter sightings or experiences since then?
Since then, nothing visual with me. It's been more of like I get those feelings of like I got right when that was going to happen, and the things that I went through as a child, feeling those things, and then taking photos when I get those feelings, taking photos all around me to see what I can capture, because you don't see nothing with the naked eye. Maybe you can catch it on film, and I say I have caught some things on film. Now, people can say that what they see is not what I see, but that's fine. I know what I saw. I know what I took pictures of. I know what I saw that night. I know what I've seen every single day of my life growing up. The only thing is people can't get in here. This is mine, and people can't read that. They can only go by my word on a lot of these things, because like I said, when I had the encounter with these two big creatures, my cell phone was on a charger up in my bedroom. I was intending to go outside and take pictures, but just so happened my phone was at 1%.
Well, you don't have to defend yourself, and everybody's gone through this, so you don't have to worry about it. I mean, when I had my two very close encounters, well, yeah, basically what I consider encounters, not my studies, my encounters. I didn't even have well, the second time I did have my cell phone, and when I started taking pictures, it was everything but a Bigfoot that I was filming. All sorts of entities, but yeah, you could say, I mean, how you classify Sasquatch or a Bigfoot. It's like there's some entities that, I mean, some people might claim it to be a Bigfoot, but I could say I don't know if there were entities, and some were massive, some were very big.
If I would have had my cell phone on me and those things came out and we met like that, surprised to see each other, what would have happened if I'd have started snapping pictures?
Well, when it happened to me, one thing I went through was 3 days of intensive spiritual warfare. It was crazy 3 days that ended, you know, basically where I'm sitting right now. It ended right here. It's 5 feet away from the other side of the wall there and the front porch. So, but was it because of the phone or was it because of something else? I mean, I do believe that because I was interacting with a couple of people that one, he claimed to be a medicine man, and another one a medicine woman. Or I believe that in particular the woman, she tried to conjure up something against me, right? She didn't like what I was saying, right? So I do think that the people do have certain abilities based on certain knowledge to make these things move and do things and manifest and try to whatever they want to do, whatever their intent is. I mean, I survived it and better off for it and a lot stronger for it, and I'm less. I have had my experiences, so I mean, and do I expect anyone to even believe me? Well, I'd like you to, but if you don't, I don't blame you. I really don't. And it really, you get to the point where you're just like, all I can do is share what happened. If you don't believe me, then you don't believe me. And if you do believe me, please do not say I was trying to speak ugliness. Who's that? What is that about? Who are you talking to? I don't know who you're talking. I don't understand what's going on between. Well, I do actually. I actually understand 100% what's going on. I do. And so, yes, I do. So, and it doesn't bother me one bit. I expect this stuff to happen. So, it just verifies things. So, but yeah. So you have to go through the experiences you go through.
Yeah.
You say I started. I don't know what you're talking about. You're not the first medicine woman I ever met or even heard of. Actually, I haven't met you yet. We've just been on the internet. I don't know what's going on. Well, I do know what's going on. If you're really interested in friendship between me, medicine woman, say hi to me. That would be start. I don't get it. Well, I do get it. I'm 100%. I understand exactly what's going on. So this is pretty much part of the spiritual warfare that's going on. And for some reason, there's people out there that think that I'm their enemy or that I'm causing problems, and it's clearly not the case.
No,
I know it's not the case.
No, it's not you. It's something internal, and it's not Ramona. But we'll keep it at that.
Spiritual. I think the spirits do drive us, and they do mess around with us, and to make people think things, believe things that aren't true. You know what I mean? And at times, other opposites so happen. So, but my focus is the Lord of all spirits. I really don't care about all the other stuff. All the other stuff just comes and goes and this kind of thing. So that means sounds kind of self-centered, but I mean it's the only answer that I found. And yeah, it's like the best protection that any person can have is have a personal relationship with the Lord of all spirits. Overrides all the other things. So it really does. So saying that, so you had these experiences. Now, what's your intent? When did you start doing this Oklahoma cryptid search team? When did you start?
I started doing that probably mid-February. Doing the actual channel mid-February, but before that I was watching other YouTube channels, and it got my interest back into it. Like I wanted to get out there and start looking, because I spent all those years of
Melissa,
seeing what I saw over and over in my head, and wondering where these things are. Are they going to come back around? Because I'll tell you right now, I know where they came from. And a lot of people say that Southwest Oklahoma doesn't have Bigfoot, doesn't have Dogman. But you talk to the people that go out there in the field, and they're like, yeah, we beg to differ. Here's a heads up. Go check this place out. Because I can't go here because I live here. So you live down there, go check this out. Well, I've got a lot of leads that I'm going to be revealing in good time. It takes time and money to get out in the field. And when I finally get to these places, people will see that Bigfoot and Dogman do exist in Southwest Oklahoma. You have Lawton, Oklahoma, which is only 40 miles away from the Red River. You have creeks and rivers that connect the two. So all the reports of big man being Bigfoot.
What's your intent in all this?
My intent is I had a connection with these creatures, especially the female Bigfoot. My intent with these creatures is the protection of the species, get them recognized, because I want people to know what I saw was real.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want the naysayers to have enough evidence to show that what they think is a fantasy, what they think is a daydream or a psychotic episode, somebody seeing things. No, these things are real. These things come out of the woods. These things come in physical form. These things are there. And we have to coexist with these things. So my intention is to get these things recognized as a actual living, breathing species.
So you believe that they're actually flesh and blood?
What I saw standing in front of me was flesh and blood.
So when you
if they have any other spiritual connections and all that, all that, we can discuss that. We can debate that, because yes, there are some species in the Bigfoot world, that in the cryptid world, that do have that aura to them, that they could be spiritual. But what I saw was flesh and blood. What I saw personally was flesh and blood, living, breathing. The stares I got, those were not, I was not seeing.
Since you were so close to there, and you said there's living, did you feel their breath on you?
Yes.
Did you smell their breath?
Yes. The Dogman creature, if it was a full-blooded Dogman, I don't really know, but this thing was breathing 2 feet away from me, breathing, salivating, stinking like death.
Stinking like death. That's a really important point right there. Stinking like death. Okay.
Muddy. No, there was no blood anywhere. It was, but it was just.
So what do you say to a guy like me who's had experiences with these things and has seen them come in and out of trees, go through trees?
I'm not going to judge anybody for their beliefs.
It's not a belief. This is not belief. Just like you said, you saw what you saw.
Right.
I saw what I saw. It's not a belief. I never ever once claimed it or said. So I'm asking you an honest question. Be honest about it. What do you think about a guy like me who says that I have seen these things go in and out of the trees?
You had your encounters. I had mine. Maybe the two are connected. Maybe they're not. But that's what investigating is all about. Looking into things that are connected.
So what about the indigenous cultures throughout the North America that say that these things do come in and out of the trees?
I haven't seen it myself, so I can't say yes or no. But when somebody shows me photographical proof, if you see what I saw in person, if I see it coming through a tree, then obviously it's probably doing that. But it never did it to me.
Sure. You have your experience in, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Bear Claw, if you want to talk, you can friend each other on Facebook and we can have a conversation and talk. I really don't I don't want this. We don't need to be having this at all. I mean, when you first came into the room, I said hi to you. I don't know if you noticed that. I did. So I don't know where we're going with all this, but I seem to think that the spirits seem to keep on using people in my life to try to. I don't know why it's happening. Well, I do know why it's happening. The spirits are trying to do it. So they're trying to challenge me in this whole thing. So, and they use other people, and people don't even realize it's happening. You know what I mean? Anyways, so this is perfectly fine. I mean, there's plenty of guys. I know a lot of guys. My opinion is that these things are they are ultra dimensional beings. I don't believe they're the guardians of the forest. I believe they're the guardians of the realm. They're the gatekeepers where the underworld and the middle world intersect. That's how I see it. It's what makes most sense of what I'm seeing and what I'm viewing. They do travel from the underworld to the upper world and in the middle world. And for somehow they can go from the size of an orb into manifest in the flesh. Now, there's many different sacred texts that talk about beings that are able to do that. Is there any way to scientifically prove that to anybody to make it satisfactory to them? I don't know any other way unless they have their own encounters and experiences. And everyone's experience is a little different. And that's why we need to listen to each and every one of us. Now, I have no problem hanging out with a hardcore flesh and blood dude, because especially if you had your encounter and experience, the only thing I say is, remember, I have mine, and let's understand that this is a multifaceted thing going on. And if we try to keep this in one, like in a nice tidy box, and try to just say, no, it's just my way or the highway, we're missing out on a lot of what's really going on. We should not judge each other, but accept each other's experiences. You know what? We never know. We never know. Hey, Elizabeth, it's good seeing you. We never know, right? We never know the other person's experiences. I see a lot of times people judge each other in all facets. I mean, you see it everywhere. It doesn't matter. It could be religion, politics, the workplace, in our own families. It happens over and over again. And, so one person sees things or has spirits one way, another person another. I think if we listen to each other, I think we can see a much clearer and bigger picture. It seems logical to me that these things can traverse different parallel universes. And it makes all the sense in the world. Now, can we explain it, understand it fully? Well, we're not them, and we're not in their situation, right? So, and a lot of experienced researchers and people who've had a lot of experience in this come to this conclusion that it's not just one, side or one package fits all type of deal. It's not just it's this way or that or no way, or you know what I mean? I think that's what they want us to do. Take a side. There has to be this camp or the other camp. You have to be Republican, Democrat, Christian, and atheist. On and on it goes. And the fact of the matter is, we're drinking their Kool-Aid to keep us divided from each other. And so if you see it, I don't have a problem with that. I want you to know that. There's guys that think that there's like literally some kind of war going on. That it's, you know what I mean? That it has to be my way or else, or it has to be this certain way and parameter or else. And if you don't see it my way, then you're lying, that you're not telling the truth, blah, 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 blah. And I just have to say that each and every one of us have our own experiences, and we would learn a lot from each other if we actually learn to listen to each other, appreciate each other, and what our experiences are, instead of saying, no, 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 it can't be that way. I mean, your story is wild, man, but my story was pretty wild too. I know my story is absolutely 100% real. You say that your story is 100% real. I don't, I think this is how we're supposed to be, my friend. You have your point of view, your own experiences. You're as
Everybody has their
valid
own
as mine.
experience, and everybody goes at the way things are perceived in their way. And you also have to have an open mind to accept other people's explanations, because you never know what can be true and what isn't until you look into it. You have to open your mind and look into what someone else explains, and take your own experience and try to see their point of view through your own experience. And maybe what I had, the experience I had, they didn't have to do these things that other people said that they experienced, because they didn't do anything with me except show themselves in the flesh.
Well,
They
it
didn't
does
have to.
demonstrate one thing that just, as scary as these things are, looking at, it doesn't mean that they're out to grab us, you
Right.
know, unlive us, take us away from this realm. You know what I mean? There's no evidence of that at all. This is another fine example of the fact that you have this very close encounter. If some of these very seems very physical, you smell things, you hear things, you see things, and I just think it's a shame that you're not, drawing this out and letting people know what exactly you saw, so that we have a better understanding. I just hope you don't fall into the trap as just everybody else is, you know what I mean? There's like this, like they're pushing. And I don't think people mean to. I think most people don't even conscious. They think they're doing the right thing by showing the same type of image over and over and over and over again. What a Bigfoot is, and what a dogman is. If you could actually spend some time and actually try to clearly write out and describe, and you don't have to do it either, but if you did do it and you shared it with us, that would help us have a better understanding what you actually saw. It's one thing to say I saw a Bigfoot. It's another thing I saw a dogman. But if you can actually describe what that dogman did, really, I mean, in more detail, you don't have to be a great artist to do this, by the way. You just have to just do it. You know what I mean? And say, this is what the eyes look like. This is what it's appeared to me from my memory. This is what the ears look like from my memory. This is what the mouth and that, and et cetera, et cetera. This is what the biceps and don't be hyperbolic about it, don't exaggerate it, and don't downplay it. Just try to do best to describe it and draw it out. And if you don't, you don't. It means it's not one for another. But for your particular situation, it would be very beneficial because it's so close. You know what I mean? I mean, you should have definitely seen a great amount of detail. That would be very interesting to see how you perceived it.
Yeah, when you
Honestly.
can see the beads of the sweat on their skin rolling down their chest, yeah, you notice every single detail.
Yeah. And for those who don't know what my name is Michael Adams. So Michael, you well, I think most people don't just know me as O.R.D. So of course you can call me O.R.D. as well. Yeah, so this is a very interesting story, as usual. People are going to be all over the map when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
And I know exactly firsthand how abusive people can be when your story doesn't fit their paradigm. And we have a great amount of assumptions. We just assume that we know everything, and the truth is, the more that I've learned in my life, and I've also learned that about many other people, is that we know very, very little, and what we do know is still very little. And after that, pretty much And a lot of the things that we believe that we know are the truth are misperceptions, misunderstandings, flat out being wrong. Um, so we operate, all of us, in an incredible amount of ignorance. If anybody claims that they have all these amazing powers that are beyond the rest of us, you know what I'm saying? That somehow that they are almost godlike, or they're some kind of, whatever they want to call themselves, and they can't truly demonstrate it or use it to the benefit of others, in a way that really people can see it and realize and help. It's just, once again, it's just more of hearsay and belief, whatever. And everyone has a right to believe, but that's all right. But it's up to each and every one person to use their own ability to critically think to the best of their ability, suspend judgment on everyone just because your experience is not theirs, and vice versa. I mean, let's be honest. This is actually the absolute. You have your own individual experience, and there's 8 billion people right now roaming in this plane of existence, and there's somebody probably in Korea, or somewhere in Vietnam, or somewhere in China is having a very similar experience, but it's not exactly the same as there's something going on in West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, blah blah blah, on and on it goes. I mean, and the fact is, we want everything to be so certain. We want to be certain. We want to claim that we have absolute certainty. It gives us a false sense of security. But honestly, I think if you really want to grow spiritually and intellectually, you have to suspend all that certainty and let go of a lot of your judgments and what other people told you to be true. And until you find out for certain that something is true, you really don't know. So we always are operating out of faith, hope that somebody is talking to us in the way that they're not lying to us, not manipulating us, they're not trying to hurt us or judge us. And so I think we just let, I find it, and I find the humorousness much worse in younger people. And I'm not just knocking young people, because I was a young person once. I remember this time when I totally thought I knew exactly how this world was about. I knew exactly what was going on. I had a good beat on life. I knew what it was all about. And you know what I've learned in 55 years? I didn't know jack squatch about anything. I know very little. It's true. And in fact, it's quite amazing that any of us are able to put on our shoes and our pants in the morning, considering how little we do actually know. So it's really, people are going to take advantage of that. People who are clever, people who have the ability to do it, they can manipulate, they're going to take advantage of it. But we don't have to be those people, and we don't have to do that. You know what I mean? So we can say, you know what, my experience is my experience. Harold's his experience is his experience. Bear Claw, her experience is her experience. Melissa's her experience, CP is I don't. Is it who is CP? Who does that?
CP is a very good friend. That
man or woman, first of all?
Woman.
Okay, CP. So woman. So CP, you have your own experience, and thank you for keep coming in and out. I appreciate you for joining us. And there's is it Gina? How do you is that your wife?
That's my ex-sister-in-law.
Okay, Jen, or
Jen.
So you have your experience, and it's just as valid as anybody else's. The big thing is, though, when it comes to belief systems, this becomes very dangerous. When we say that our way is it, and if you don't believe the way I see it, you're going to hell. You're ruled by the devil, and you're controlled by a bunch of demons. I've seen this in Christianity. I've seen this in so many other things and it's really based on ignorance. Not really get to know the person, understand where they come from, what their experience is. I mean, I know many a person who's had, supernatural experiences growing up. And has had a lot of trauma in her life, and then has need to not only for deliverance, but help. I mean, I saw a shrink for 2.5 years. I'm not gonna apologize to anybody about it. It's my experience. You think less of me because it's not because of me. It's 'cause there's something with you. I didn't do anything to you. But that's what we do. We operate in preconceptions all the time. We judge each other instead of getting to know each other, and we never know who actually could be a real friend and who is will never be a real friend. We just have to give everyone a chance. You know what I mean? And I truly believe that. So I actually really did enjoy this couple hours with you, Harold. And I hope that you have great success. You're able to prove what you want to prove, and that you help people with it. And there's a lot of things that people do in the community in the field that I don't agree with. I personally don't find this as entertainment. This stuff really did happen in my life. I know that this is real. I know that this is much bigger than a Wendigo, a Bigfoot, and a Dogman. I know it because I've seen it, I filmed it, and experienced it. Now, how do I translate that to other people? Well, and why do I want to do it? You know what I mean? Is it because I'm at war with anybody? No, I'm not at war with anybody. But I do believe this is very important. I think that if we could get reconnected with the creation and the creator, the Lord of all spirits, and all that it entails, I think we'll all be benefit from it. We might actually see each other a little differently, not see each other as, in conflict and enemies and all this other stuff. You know what I mean? And we try to understand people and each other. We have this tendency to judge each other so terribly, and it's really, I see that it's so much in people who operate under dogma. You know what I mean? A very religious type of mentality, very much so, and it's dangerous to say that if you're not one of us, you can't hang out with us. I mean, it happens all over the place, everywhere, every walk of life. Yeah. So I do appreciate you giving me your evening, your time, Harold. And I once again hope you have great success. Is there anything that you would like to share with people? Because I was no one's like looking in to join us. I think we pretty much nailed everything that we needed to nail. We could go into more detail as time goes on about certain circumstances and experiences. Maybe Mike, MT Mike, he can, befriend him. He's more into the paranormal thing. I'm into the big picture.
We're friends. We talk.
Okay, well then he did ask, that maybe you guys can hook up on Facebook Messenger, and talk more about your experiences.
Oh yeah.
What do you want to leave with people? What are your parting words?
Well, anybody and everybody that has experienced something similar to me or something way different, everybody has their experience. Everybody goes through the different things that you see, you hear, you smell. Everyone's story is different, but yet everyone's story could be the same. We have to sit down and talk about it with each other. We agree to disagree on things. We can enjoy each other's stories. We can enjoy each other's friendship. And hopefully no one will judge you for what you saw. No one should judge the next person, and no one should talk bad about that person, whether you believe them or not.
I totally agree about somebody. I've seen a lot of that going on lately because people are disagreeing about such things that really.
I have my experience.
Toes and fingers from.
They have their experience, and I love listening to everybody's different experiences. I love hearing about it. I mean, I will sit and listen for hours to somebody talk about everything that I am interested in, like the paranormal, Bigfoot, Dogman, any cryptid, like even chupacabra. Somebody said, I saw a chupacabra. Okay, yeah. Well, tell me about it.
CP had it prepared about it. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
But when you work hard to get out there and do these things, film, take pictures, walk for miles. Doesn't matter if it's day or night. And then you turn around and someone that you work with wants to drag your name through the mud. That's just not right. And people need to learn to watch what they say and who they say it to, because word gets back and people
Look at this testimony.
will do what they're going to do. They're going to say what they're going to say. But words don't hurt me. Action.
Well, you know, as the old saying goes from the Lord or from Jesus, it is not what goes in a man that defiles him, but what comes out of him. There's so much truth in that statement, because, you know, and how many times no one's innocent in any of this, but I
respect my enemies. I respect my friends just the same, because everybody has an opinion and everyone has their point of view.
Yeah, and here's the thing about the enemy thing. That's it's all an illusion, man. It's all an illusion. So here's the thing. What's really going on with people, is there's something internal going on. I know what I experience. I know what I know. I know what I know. It doesn't matter if you agree with me at all. It's not going to change what I know. You understand? And so when that happens, and when you're in that place and you're at that comfort and peace, which, after a while you get to the point, you're just like, well, they don't believe me. Well, why don't they believe me? Why don't they accept my point of view? Well, first of all, they didn't have my experience. Secondly, they didn't have my experience. And thirdly, they didn't have my experience. So this is really important to realize that, just because we have, 180 degrees, I know people that, man, I'm saying I know a lot in this little rant, but I know people that completely think that all of this is BS. All BS.
Yeah.
People, they say they believe in God, but all the rest of the stuff is BS. And I'm just like, well, and I talk to them and I listen to them, and the resolution. Hold on a second. So what I've come to the conclusion is that the reason why there's an issue is they have not had my experience. They don't know. They can't know. You cannot know 100% if the spirit realm is real unless you seriously go out and pursue it. Reading a book is not seriously pursuing it. You cannot know God, the creator, by reading a book. You can't. It should lead you to that realization that you have to do that. You can't know if Bigfoot is real unless you go out and find out for yourself if it's real or not. You just will never know. You just can't. It's an impossibility.
Yeah. And whether they show themselves to us by choice or by happenstance, that's something that you individually have to find out. You can't say, well, I'm going to go see Bigfoot, because you don't know if that's going to happen. You can go see where they might have been, but you're not guaranteed to see one.
That's not my approach.
An entity of any kind when you go out, because they're not going to appear to just anyone and everyone.
Well, there's multiple facets going on. There's multiple facets going on, and it's and so yeah. For me, going out, when I go out, I don't even go out with the intent of seeing a Bigfoot or anything. I'm just going to go out and say, I'm going to document the day, what's going on in the trees, what's going on the edge of the forest, what's going on in my neighborhood, that kind of stuff. And if nothing happens, then nothing happens. There's many, for every one or interesting or image or even outstanding photo, there's 1,000 duds. There really is, you know what I mean? Or things that doesn't, maybe I can see something clearly, but others would never be able to see it because they don't have trained eyes. And so, and even with trained eyes, I mean, you and I were hanging out Sunday and looking at one of your images, and we were like You were seeing one thing, and I was flipping the image and seeing something completely different. You know what I mean? Perception is a big deal in all of this. Literally, it is. Perception absolutely is a big deal. So, in the human condition and this 14 state of being is another major part in all this. Nothing in this world ever will fit in a nice, tidy box. It will never happen as much as you try. It won't work. Now, and I'm talking about the big stuff. Now, you can certainly fold your clothes and make them nice and tidy in the dresser or drawer or whatever, or put the things in the cupboard, or that kind of stuff. But when I'm talking about the big picture and things, life experiences and everything. Nothing fits as tidily in a nice box. It's not. And then the moment you can let go of all that, let go of your need to control how everyone sees things so that you feel that you're absolutely right, actually it makes life a lot more interesting. It's been my experience. It's difficult. I mean, it's not easy to back that down and say, okay, because instinct says no. Harold's experience is not my experience. It can't be true. But as time goes on and I talk to more and more people, I realize it's absolutely true and it's absolutely how it's meant to be. Everyone's supposed to have their own experience. Yeah. And we should learn to embrace that part of this reality. Each and every one of us is meant to have our own experience.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to end at. So with that, we're going to play some music. I'm going to say thank you once again, Harold. You can check out his stuff. I left information in the information box about his YouTube channel, his where you can find him on, I believe, on Facebook. And if not, I think he will lead you to it.
Yes, on Facebook.
Anyways, we also in the beginning of the show. I mean, gosh, we've that 3 hour. We did bring that up as well.
You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Yeah. I have something Oklahoma Cryptid search team on every single social media that I just mentioned. So you can find me on there. You can find my contacts if you need to get in contact with me. If you're in Oklahoma, contact me about any experiences you had or anything that you want to talk about as far as cryptids goes, or you could even, if you want to join my team, give me a call.
Yeah,
my information is up there.
Well, I hope it works out for you, Harold. I really do. And so with that, I mean, yeah, thank you. And we will end the show. We will end the show with some music. Harold, you have a good day. A good night. Yeah, that was very interesting. Hey, Jared, thank you for joining us. Jenny, is that how you pronounce it? Gene? I guess it would be. CP, I'd love to see more about you. Do I even have you subscribe? Am I subscribed to your channel? And if I am not, let us, reach out to me, CP, with your link to your channel so I can subscribe to it. Love you, brother, Sasquatch Confessions. He's got a good attitude about the whole thing. And there's times we get things wrong, like everyone else, as far as, you know what I mean? But overall, he's got a great attitude about stuff. And, I get everything. Stuff, I don't get everything wrong. I get things wrong at times. Bear Claw, thank you for joining us. See what else. Elizabeth, thank you for being around all these years. And Elizabeth's probably been following me for 6 years. That's how long I've been on YouTube, one form or another. Mike MT Paranormal Life, thank you. And is there anybody else? There's a bunch of other UP. Oh yeah. Biggie. Yes, thank you for joining us. And with that, let's play some closing music. And yeah, if anybody wants to join me in the future, it looks like there's not much going on. I'm hoping for a break from doing this. I've really got a lot on my plate. As you can see, some of the images. I love this guy right here. I'm going to somehow figure out this to make this my avatar. He's such a it's really cool entity spirit, Indian spirit that I captured. And at that high, and that I said the eye patch, it's almost like he's got an orb for an eye. But anyways, there's his nose, his long jet black hair, and so I'm bringing that out. And of course, he's got something like these things on top of his shoulders. It's an absolute wild, it's a bit of a what we would consider a freak show, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is, and it's not going to change whether we like it or not, or agree with it or not. So maybe it's made time to try to embrace it a little bit and not worry so much, and put our trust in the Most High, the Lord of all spirits. And I'm not even being religious about that, although many people take that way. But I tell you one thing: from when I started doing that, I have nothing to do with organized religion. Period. I'm not gonna have anything to do with it. I don't want to join any groups. I don't want to do that. I mean, especially on the religious side of things or political side of things or that kind of stuff. But when I started focusing on the Lord of all spirits and actually talking to him, things just started. I mean, as these things are more interested in the spirit that we call the Lord of all spirits than us by far. And I tell you that, I mean, it's just like that draws them in like a magnet. Is that the reason why I talked to Lord of all spirits? Not originally, but then I figured out maybe it was a good way to go about it. And it sure did turn out to be that way. It's pretty wild. So if you do believe in the interdimensional and you do believe in Bigfoot and Dogfoot, man, it maybe might be a good idea to try to attempt to communicate literally. And I'm not talking about all this, getting on your knees and praying and, but if you want to do that, it's okay. I actually have a conversation with them. I really believe that at this point in my life, my best friend that I have in my life is the Lord of all spirits. It's not another human being, although I love many of you and appreciate many of you. But it's, my best friend is the Lord of all spirits. Does that also make me better than anybody else? More spiritual than anybody else? This, that, and the other? No, it just means I have a relationship with the Lord of all spirits. That's all that means. And when I try to use that to manipulate these things or other people, I miss the whole point. And whether you believe it or not, that's your journey and it's how you see things. I've really learned it many times. It seems as if the Lord of all spirits actually wants each and every one of us to have our own perception of what's really going on, even to the point of even believing in him or not. I think it's a test of us to learn how to really, what it means to really love our neighbors and love each other. And that means to really have differences. I got a lot of attempts. There's a lot of things that I've been tempted. The most biggest temptings that I've had are people close to me. And I'm like, where did you get these ideas? And where are these thoughts get in your head? And how do you perceive these things? And I'm like, clearly we do not have the ability to read each other's minds. So why bother? Why pretend? Why fool each other? Why fool yourself? You have no idea what the other person is thinking. When the things that if you're one of those, they claim that they say that only about 50% of the world, and I don't know how they get this number, but let's just go with for now. But 50% of the world, only 50% of the world actually has an internal dialogue going on. A conversation in your head. I don't know how they prove that, but that's 50%. That means the other people walking around like zombies in a way. But then it's not even the right way of saying it. They're just more, there's a wonderful thing that talks about the sons of gods and the daughters of men in the Bible. Let's just forget about all the religious nonsense. Let's just look at it in a more esoteric and a much more metaphorical and allegorical way. I think this is really what we're talking about. There are people that actually want to have a relationship with the Lord, the Lord of all spirits, and there's people that are just not got interested in it. Is anyone any more valued or more cared about in this realm by the Lord of all spirits, by Heavenly Father, by the Creator God? I don't think so. I think He cares about each and every one of us, the good, bad, and the ugly, the imperfect and those that perceive and think they are perfect. You know, I think he cares about all of us, really. But it's in a strange way. It's not in the way you and I want it to be. I think he's just letting each and every one of us have our own experience. And it's not an easy one. And I don't think it was ever meant to be an easy one. That's some food for thought to think about. You know what I mean? And this is where this whole thing, if you let it be, if you let it go down the journey that's meant to be for you, I do believe that with Sasquatch will lead you to all sorts of philosophical, psychological, spiritual questions and quests. You'll developing your own hero's journey for real. And you know what? It gets to a point you don't even worry about what other people think. You're just going to go on that journey, that path, that straight and narrow path that the Lord of those spirits gave you. And when you're at that point, and when you've really gone for it, and when you really go for it, there's a liberation and a freedom that no person can ever take away from you or even comprehend. But it's yours. That's something nobody can take away from you. Think about that. Yeah.